I'm back. Folks, we are continuing the lesson on reflexive verbs, and I'm on page 151. And you'll notice on that page there's a big old long list of verbs that are reflexive verbs. And we know again that they're reflexive verbs because if you look at that list, all those verbs end in an SE. And so when an infinitive ends in an SE, we know that that verb is a reflexive verb. Okay? So we've established that. Now, the reflexive verb examples that I've given so far have been reflexive verbs that are regular, just like other regular verbs that we've had in Spanish. But of course, there are always irregular verbs, just every which way. So if you look on page 151, here on the section in chapter 5 about reflexive verbs, there are, I think, 7 verbs on that page, and your book indicates it. There are 7 irregular verbs that are reflexive verbs. They are acostarse, to go to bed, despertarse, to wake up, divertirse, to have a good time, dormirse, to fall asleep, ponerse, to put on, as in clothing, sentarse, to sit down, and vestirse, to get dressed. And you'll know that those verbs are irregular because on the list right here on page 151, out beside each of those verbs, it has, for example, in parentheses, the yo form of that particular verb, and it shows the irregular change that it goes through. Also, your books have irregularities in red letters, so you can take a look at that. But let's go over one of these. Let's take a look at the verb to go to bed or to lie down. What was that verb I just said? What? Can you hear it? Acostarse. Acostarse, to go to bed or to lie down. Okay? So we've got acostarse. All right. Well, again, we know because it ends in an SE that it's a what? You got it. Bam! Reflexive verb. But what would you do if I told you that this verb is kind of like a double whammy? It's not only a reflexive verb, it's also a boot verb. So what that means is that we have to take into consideration that since it's reflexive, we have to put me, te, se, nos, and se in front of the verb. But since it's a boot verb, we have to take into consideration that the verb is going to go through some changes in all the forms of the boot. So this verb acostarse is going to have a change in the O. So it's going to have a change of an O to a UE in the boot. Okay, let me draw my pretty boot. And again, it's also a reflexive verb. Okay, so let me draw my boot first of all, and let's take a look. Have you noticed, guys, how Spanish, it's almost like one thing is built upon the next or a previous layer? We learned how to deal with AR, ER, and IR verbs in a regular way. Well, we're still going to be using those regular AR, ER, IR endings, right? But to that, we've added on internal vowel changes, so we built on that, and then we've also added to it the reflexive. So you can see how Spanish has kind of built upon each other. If you're shaky down here at the foundational level, though, sometimes it makes it a little bit more challenging up here in some of the more advanced forms. So you want to make sure you have a strong foundation. Okay? So let's look at this. Yo, all right, what do I put right there for a reflexive verb? Yo me. All right, yo me. Okay, now look at acostar. You know that the O goes to a UE in the boot. So I don't say yo me acosto. I say yo me, let me write it down here, acuesto. Yo me acuesto. I go to bed. I lie down. Okay? Again, an O ending because since it's an AR verb, the yo form of AR verbs is an O. We're changing the O right here in acostarse to a UE in the boot. And it's also a reflexive verb, so we're including me. Now, if I just say yo acuesto, all right, that's going to imply I do something to someone else. If I say yo me acuesto, I'm doing it to myself. So yo me acuesto, I go to bed. I put myself to bed. But what do you think it might mean if you say yo acuesto? Think in terms of if you have a child. You put your child to bed. So that would be the difference between yo acuesto and yo me acuesto. Okay? So yo me acuesto, tú te, follow the pattern, tú te acuestas. Okay? See that AS for AR verb? UE because it's in the boot. Te because it's reflexive. Okay? He goes to bed. Let's say your dad goes to bed real late. Él se acuesta. Él se acuesta muy tarde. He goes to bed very late. Let's come up here. Now remember, outside of the boot, no changes, right? So we have nosotros. What reflexive pronoun is used with nosotros, huh? Huh? That's right. Nos. Nosotros, nos, and then acostamos. Acostamos. Why did I leave that O like that? Why? That's right. Because in verbs that are boot verbs, the only changes that take place in the spelling will be inside of the boot, not outside of it. Okay? And then finally, they go to bed. Ellos se acuestan. Ellos se acuestan. Okay? So, repitan conmigo. Yo me acuesto. Tú te acuestas. Él se acuesta. Nosotros nos acostamos. Ellos se acuestan. I go to bed, you go to bed, he goes to bed, we go to bed, they go to bed. All right. Now, again, guys, remember that this is just a verb that's got some irregularities in it. You just have to start learning these two. No big deal. Just do your practice, okay? So, here's a question for you. ¿A qué hora te acuestas en la noche? ¿A qué hora te acuestas en la noche? What time do you go to bed at night? Yo me acuesto a las 11 de la noche. I go to bed at 11 at night. Okay? So keep this in mind, and I'll see you on the next video. Ciao.